Some of you may remember the video I made about the hidden blade from the Assassin's Creed series a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's been a hot minute, so now I have something that allows me to make better points about it, because now I can extend my point. Back then I was rather critical of it, saying things like, why bother with a hidden blade when you can just hide a dagger, which is more effective? Let's dive into it, or shall we say, take a stab at it. Of course, hypothetically speculating about something is not as good as hypothetically speculating about something you have on hand, or in this case, on wrist. This is made by Rawice Creations, whom I reached out to asking if I could borrow one of these for a video. And what he ended up doing was not only send me one, but two, plus a decorative stand, and then tell me to keep them all, which is frickin' awesome. These are really cool, and I'm happy to keep them. So this video is not sponsored as such, but it ended up with a surprise gift. Not that it influences what I'm about to say in any way, but hey. Alright, so when it comes to the question of why bother, I think the game actually does a pretty good job of answering that. And no, I don't mean the rule of cool. It does that, of course. But particularly this compilation of stealth kills with the hidden blade shows it quite well. If the assassin can just walk past someone and casually briefly touch them and they collapse, that's pretty difficult to spot, especially in a crowd, if you aren't already observing this particular guy, which you might because he's not particularly inconspicuously dressed. That works pretty well, because this way you have it available at a moment's notice. You don't even need to reach for your belt or your forearm or anything. You only need one hand. And it's as quickly as it's out, it's back in again. And of course, also, you can hold on to things. Right now, all I have is a stick, but it'll do. So I can manipulate other objects. I can even use another weapon. And I can even still deploy this while I'm holding onto the other weapon, to an extent. The problem, of course, is always you have to move the hand out of the way. And here's a case that I overstated, even though it was done as a joke in the original video. After a hard day of assassination work, relieving yourself, and suddenly... the danger to yourself. You could end up hurting yourself with this if it comes out at a time where you don't want it to, right? Wrong, really, depending on how it's made. And I do think this is the best option. Let me just take off the glove here to show you. So there is a string connected to a ring, and if I pull this far enough, it comes out. So depending on how long you make that string, it takes more or less to activate it. If I deliberately try to impale my own fingers, I can't, because not only do I have to pull my wrist back, I also have to pull my finger. I can still use my wrist normally and, support myself in case of an assassin. He can pull himself up on a ledge, things of that nature. But it takes a little bit more to get it out, and you can really adjust it as far as you want. Now, if I pull it up a little bit, for example, I'm going to have to extend my finger more. So it's up to the user how safe it is exactly. There are some extremely impressive builds out there, like this pneumatic design, which has plenty of power, but requires modern technology, including some electronics, and the whole system needs to be worn in a backpack. There are also simpler spring-powered versions, which are easier to wear and conceal. This, by the way, is irresistible. You just gotta mess with it. Keep doing it. Anyway, and we've also got this right here. This is Ivor's version of the hidden blade. Even though Assassin's Creed Valhalla makes me cringe with just how much they butchered the historical setting, his hidden blade design is actually quite nice. But we'll get to that in a moment, because there are some particular points, observations about this. I really need to find more synonyms for making points when I talk about pointy objects. Otherwise there will be all kinds of poignant puns. If I engage the safety here, you can hear the click. It doesn't come out anymore, which can be useful, of course. So this is already the best solution for it that I can think of. This string and the ring can be concealed under a glove, no problem. So this works perfectly well. The lock would have to be strong enough to withstand stabbing with it, obviously. That was another one of the points that I made, that it wouldn't be as powerful in the thrust as a dagger is. And that's still true. Like if you think about holding a dagger, you can really wrap your fingers around, you can put the thumb at the end and you can really drive your entire body weight down with it, particularly in a hammer grip. Here, not as much, because really all that's holding it in place are the straps. So if these give, and you can see there is a little bit of movement here, so there's only the friction from the straps preventing the blade from getting pushed back and thereby being less effective. Is there a problem? I don't actually think so anymore. Why? Because what kind of target would an assassin engage with this? The neck or other soft targets? Unless the assassin hits the spine of the victim, it's not really going to be a problem. There's also this design which intelligently combines the benefits of the hidden blade with the power of a conventional ice pick grip. You remember the original hidden blade from the first Assassin's Creed, where the guy had his ring finger removed? This looks cool and all, but it really serves no practical function. So for one, I don't like the idea of letting the blade slide past those other two fingers, because you could injure the other two fingers. And also, with the way this is activated, why? All the fingers are out of the way. And as mentioned earlier, I can't really think of another way to make this work effectively. So this is just what we've got. So the fingers aren't in the way no matter what. And also you would limit the penetration depth this way. So imagine I don't have my ring finger, right? And it just comes out here. So this is as much as I've got to work with here. There's still some more blade there. So what happens when I do this? I've got more blade to work with. So compare this. That's how much we got. And now it goes down to about here at least, depending on the exact angle. So this is just better in every way. Complexity is a drawback because that means something can fail. A traditional dagger is just a blade with a handle. Like, how can it fail? The same way the blade can fail. You know, like the tip can bend or break or whatever. If you have shoddy steel, anything like that, it can dull, whatever. That can happen with this too. And the internal mechanism can fail. You know, this mechanism can fail, the string can rip. You know, there's a number of things that can happen. However, it's not that big of a deal because this is not a fighting weapon in this form. We'll get back to that in a moment. This is an assassination tool. So the same logic applies as does to self-defense knives. They don't need to be as durable as a bushcraft knife, for example, because you're not going to use it as much. You know, hopefully not at all. In fact, an assassin would use this more often than somebody would use a knife for self-defense. But either way, not all that much. And another thing that I've pointed out, you know, if blood from the blade runs down through the mechanism, it could gum things up. You know, coagulated blood in there, that's not a good thing. That could make the mechanism fail. Okay, but if he only uses it once or twice or 3 times or whatever, and then takes it apart and cleans it and whatever, maintains it, not a problem really. So why did I leave this one for later? Well, for the inside carry, this has a serious problem. As you can see, the point is sticking out. So if I strap this to my wrist, you can see the problem. I'm not gonna have fun here. I might poke my wrist or my palm or whatever. I would have to wear this so low that I'm limiting how much blade I can work with. I mean, there's still plenty. However, if you turn it into something else and actually carry it or wear it on the outside rather than the inside, now it becomes a different beast. So while this is an assassin's weapon, I would call this a fighter's weapon. funnily enough, I said this before double checking the design in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and this is exactly the way it is. So despite slaughtering history in this one, I've got to give him credit for this design choice. That's pretty good. If I strap it this way and actually hold on to this strap, this eliminates one of the weaknesses of that design, namely, it's more stable. Now I've actually got something to hold on to. This doesn't have to be a flexible strap, this can also be a bar of some kind. So now I'm more directly connected to this, not just with straps, but with something solid, so I can really drive this in. Like a lot of arm claws and blades and things of that nature, this could be armored, so you're actually able to defend with that, just block an opponent's sword or whatever other weapon, and you can actually use this more effectively. Now, would you want a retractable version in that case? Not really, because concealment is not a factor here. Here you really want something that's reliable and damage resistant that you can actually use for defense. So this is arguably not as purposeful, but it is cool. I mean, you can't argue with that, right? I couldn't blame a fantasy hero for wanting this as opposed to just a fixed blade attached to the arms. Twice the edginess. Yeah, twice the stabbiness too. Yeah, so these are a lot of fun, as you can tell. I hope you found this video fun too. That's the idea after all. Thanks for watching, and beware of shady hooded figures.